in South Africa, where he also accused the government of human rights abuses. But what does this mean for Nigeria, for our peace, our sovereignty, and identity as a multi-faith nation? Are these warnings born out of concern, or are they expressions of foreign interference in African affairs? To help us navigate this complex terrain, we are joined by Kingsley Gar, who is a writing fellow at African Liberty, and he's also a broadcast journalist with Crest Hills Media. Kingsley's work focuses on politics, leadership, and youth, and he brings a thoughtful, research-driven perspective to the intersection of media governance and peace building. Please, if Kingsley, if you can hear me, I almost called you peacemaker now. If you can hear us, say hi. Good morning. Oh, I'm not sure I can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay, so let's assume that you can hear. Let's just get to the first question. To what extent do you think that foreign leaders threaten sovereign nations regarding their internal conflicts? To what extent should foreign leaders publicly threaten sovereign nations regarding their internal affairs? I mean, look at the case of Nigeria and look at Donald Trump.
Foreign leaders do not have the right to threaten any country for whatever is going on in their country at the moment, irrespective of whatever troubles the country might be facing. In fact, it's even for the United Nations, they can only do that if the five members of the United Nations Security Council approve via what they call a responsibility to protect. That is only when they can interfere in the business of a country, and especially a country that is sovereign. The reason why they would have that need to interfere is if it affects human rights, if it's a genocide, if it's a crime on ethnic group. For this moment, while Trump has his issues or his facts on genocide, he is not an international community. US is not an international community. United Nations is, though US is part of the United Nations Security Council. He does not have the right until it is vetoed via the five members of the United Nations Security Council. And I insist, he does not have the right. By the way, how he approaches it is not viable, but it is normal for him to have issues with nations who have internal wranglings within them. However, it is via a diplomatic approach that he should come back through.
So you're saying that it should be via a diplomatic approach, and you think that the method Trump is going about it is wrong?
Very wrong.
Okay, and you'd hear Trump say that, oh, we can't sit down and watch people die. We can't sit down and watch the Christian community just die. Is that not coming from a place of care, a place of concern? I mean, we can't also agree that the U.S. is regarded as a world power, and if they don't step in, what do you think should happen? Do they have to wait? What if UN doesn't do anything? I mean, they're part of UN, but what if UN doesn't do anything?
That's all right. It's all right that he has called out the Nigerian government. We cannot deny the fact that there have been killings. In fact, Amnesty International reported in this year's
Kingsley, I beg, please, could you be more audible?
All right. Can you hear me very well
now? Slightly, kind of low.
What about now?
Okay, I think it's better.
All right. I'm saying that how he called out the Nigerian government is all right. And I have to back it up by the fact that while we are saying his approach is wrong, there are rightful killings. Killings have been happening in Nigeria through extremists, and we cannot deny that fact. Even Amnesty International reported in 2025 saying that over 10,000 people have been killed in the following past 2 years. While that is true, we cannot specifically say there are only Christian killings, while also saying there are specific religious killings. Yes, these killings, however, are instituted by extremists, especially Islamic extremists. But most of it is on the fact that they want to acquire the lands of the people who are there, more like they want to usurp them from their own territory. And I'm insisting, I believe that he calling Nigerian government out is right because it will help Nigerian government to sit up and do the rightful thing that they ought to have done. We have the security, we have the manpower. No, not to face the US, but yes, to cover our own international insecurity, our own national insecurity rather, and to solve it. Just like the media aide to President Bola Tinubu said, Daniel Bola, he encouraged and appreciated the fact that Donald Trump is calling out Nigeria and saying, we want you to understand that you have this going on in your country. However, he said they do not welcome attacking Nigeria or flying over Nigeria's sovereignty. And I'm saying again that the right approach is diplomacy. And this is a right way to call out Nigeria, but his approach to calling out Nigeria is wrong.
Okay, before I let Cynthia speak, I like that you're really emphasizing on diplomacy, but I just like to bring something to mind. Have we, in Nigeria, have we not been very diplomatic with these extremists? If you look at some of the, I mean, you hear some governments or some governors of some states where these insecurity crises are very persistent. They say, oh, some of the fact that, or of the opinion that, oh, we have to negotiate with these people. We have to give them ransom. So they've not even come to the place where we found a solution. So I'm looking at it from the angle of we now agree that everybody, like Cynthia said, Nigerians are the ones who are getting hit by all of this. It's not about whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim. It's about the fact that Nigerians are getting hit. The only difference here is that who are the people speaking up? The Christians are speaking up. And so is it not a case of, okay, the person with the loudest cry gets the best help? So it feels like the Christians are crying out and Trump has said this is a problem. So why don't we fix this terrorism issue since we Nigerians cannot fix it? Do you understand? It's like, oh, why don't we come? Because they're not coming to kill everybody now. They're coming for the terrorists. And terrorism has been a problem. And it's like we've not been able to tackle the problem from time of Goodluck Jonathan to Buhari and now to President Bola Tinubu. We've not been able to fix the problem. And somebody is saying, I can come help for free. So why is it a problem?
Now, helping for free is not a problem.
Okay.
In fact, Donald Trump, since his campaign to his second tenure, has always been hinging his policies on Christianity or saving Christians. He campaigned on the fact that I would protect Christians all over the world. I'm quoting him verbatim now. That's what he said. And yes, though he has said that, he's extending that to Nigeria. However, we do not say he should not come. The Nigerian government should note very well that Donald Trump's coming is quite right in the way of intervention, but it should stop at the conversations, the diplomatic discussions. It should stop there. It should not, stop there by just mere discussions. What I mean is that it should boost the Nigerian government. You can help us with military assistance in terms of weapons, not in terms of coming to the country and intervening on ground. On ground intervention, quite right. I understand that many Nigerians have said or believe that when the US comes, they are after our resources and all. Yes, that has been said by many, but that is not the case. We understand his concern, we understand his plight, but we are saying now it has brought to limelight the issues in this country, and the government at this point, I believe, will sit up and do the rightful thing. Another thing is him coming is a threat in the sense that he's coming as a person to invade the nation. He's not saying we are going to assist you in one way. He said that it's going to be, I think, let me just paraphrase what the part where he said, sweet and smooth and fast. That is not how to talk to a country that is sovereign, and that is not how to establish your help.
That's the most.
Yes, that is not how to establish your help. That is only a way to say that I am coming to invade your country. And if you are going to help, if you are going to help, you would say diplomatically. Let's take, for instance, the countries like China and other big countries like the North Korean. They've also been placed on the CPC list, the country of particular concern. However, he has not attempted to speak to them in this manner. He has not attempted to say, I would come at you sweet, smooth, and sweet. Yes, but this time around, Nigeria should not be perceived as a weak country. We have the military, I say again, to do the right thing, not to attack or to defend ourselves against the US, yes, but to defend ourselves against the insecurity happening in our country.
Okay, I think referring us back to Trump's comment really made me laugh. Smooth, sweet, and
Swift
whatnot.
and smart.
But then we've seen some uprising, if I should call it that, in Nigeria. I saw a video yesterday in Kano, and people are protesting against Trump's ultimatum. And that's to show that Trump's ultimatum, however, as you know, is sparking mixed reactions all over Nigeria and even in the world, if I should put it that way. But now let's come down to Nigeria. Some set of people are saying this is now forcing the government to act because we are seeing that the government is trying to, revitalize training in security agencies in the country, while others are saying this might inflame religious, tensions even more than before. So what's your own stance on this? Give me your perspective. Could we treat such issues as issues that can actually, Trump coming to Nigeria, can we say it's going to actually worsen the situation on ground?
Oh.
Okay, I think we have a network glitch there, but I hope. Okay, so Chinatu, it's a very, I don't know, I'm laughing. This is not a funny situation, but I guess the US president knows how to use words in some. He uses controversial.
And he says it with so much power. I guess we have Kingsley back.
Okay, Kingsley. Okay, can I go over my question? Good to have you back.
Please do.
Can I go over my question?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
You can go over your question.
Okay. So I'm saying that I think you got me when I said we are seeing some videos coming, from Kano State, and we are seeing protesters protesting against Trump's ultimatum to Nigeria. So, and that is not to even say that this ultimatum have not been stirring mixed reactions. It has been sparking mixed reactions all over Nigeria and all over the world. But then, some people are saying this could force the government to act. I mean, with some of the revitalization in different sectors that the government is already doing, the Nigerian government is already doing, people are saying this situation is forcing them to act. While others fear that this might also inflame religious tensions even more. So I want to get your perspective on this. Could we say could such threats actually worsen the situation on ground, especially when it comes to religious tension?
Yes, let me say briefly that once again, his calling out of the government can help solve the situation briefly. However, why I use the word briefly is because you calling out the government and threatening to invade might make the situation oversimplified, whereby the government will insist and see the need to quickly act. Quickly act. However, that acting quickly might not really solve the problem entirely because you acting quickly might just be a temporal solution. And a temporal solution does not grant a total solution or an entire solution to the issues going on in the country. What we need is an issue that is a solution that will entirely solve the problem, even for a long term.
This situation, do you see this situation as one that could worsen religious tension in Nigeria?
At the moment, I would not like to pivot to saying it would worsen religious tension. However, I would say it can heighten the tensions that are presently in the country. For instance, when they say with the issue of the protest happening at the moment, we do not have the specific data, like we said, if it is entirely Christians that are being killed or Muslims that are being killed. However, these protests, according to them, Trump should not come to the country. And Trump not coming does not entirely say you should go on the streets and protest. But religious, it having a religious effect on the country is what we are seeing at the moment. Not the tension, but the fact that they are calling out the same, this, our religious leaders, for instance, you mentioned earlier about Wale of okay, saying that the US government should come. While on the other end, some religious government have called, some religious leaders have called out the government. For instance, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, General Overseer, um, Pastor Adeboye, saying that the government should act, give your chiefs, your security chiefs, 3 months to act and let them do it fast. The tension would not be that we are afraid of what is happening. The tension would be that we want you to solve this problem for us quickly before the US invades us.
Okay, let's move down south a little. To South Africa is hosting the G20 summit, and Trump has refused to attend the summit, and this refusal have raised eyebrows globally because many see it as a sign of another of his disregard for multilateral diplomacy. So what message do you think this sends to America global partners, especially in Africa, where the US often preaches cooperation, and shared values, especially with, him saying he's coming to Nigeria to help sort of, put peace. So we are seeing this case now playing out in another way in South Africa. He has refused now to go to South Africa for the G20, and he has refused every other delegates from the US to go for this summit. So what do you think this preaches? Does this preach, because he always preaches about cooperation and shared values, what does this imply?
The United States have traditionally been known for multilateral diplomacy, but Trump's Trump's has been different. Let me use it that way. Because even looking at how he has been going from one country to the other, trying to meet with their presidents and talking them into either following his decision or um, giving them huge tariffs. That is how Trump operates. However, he's saying he is not going to the G20 would portray him or the United States to the world or to other nations as, mind you, his issue is with the South Africa. His issue is with South Africa, not the G20 summit itself. It being a multilateral dis- diplomacy makes it more than one or two people to countries to discuss the issues or security concerns in the world. However, he's insisting that he's not going. And I'm saying that the world will see it as not a problem, but an issue of the fact that he's tilting towards a unilateral mode of diplomacy or a bilateral mode of diplomacy where it's him and the other country to discuss the issues. He going to that country or him having the same issues how has it with Nigeria, going straight by saying no, I would come to your country and do this and do that. So again, he not going to the G20 is not supposed to be a big deal because it is actually with him and South Africa. In fact, he insisted that South Africa does not need to be or is not meant to be on the G20. And he's saying that is even a very interesting case because in the next year, the presidency of the G20 will tilt to the US. And we can, from his judgment now, we know how Trump operates. He might want the South Africa as a country out of the G20.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. When you compare Trump's approach to both Nigeria and South Africa, do you see a coherent Africa policy or more of a pattern of selective engagement driven by domestic politics back home in the US? Did you get my question?
Trump's mode, yes, yes. Trump's mode of approaching South Africa and Nigeria, again, I would say is not in the right form. He said again about South Africa that the white genocide is happening in South Africa. Currently, this government, South African government, has debunked that statistics or that fact by Trump. But we do not know the data Trump is relying on. Just like he's saying Christian genocide in Nigeria. We do not know his data, and we are not privy, like ordinary citizens like us are not privy to his data, and we know very well that he has these data, easy access to these data on his end. However, Trump having the issue with South Africa and Nigeria makes it an African issue. Nigeria is not a small country in Africa. South Africa neither is not a small country in Africa. And these two, we can call them our own world power in Africa, or Africa power. Let me use it that way. So his issues with South Africa and Nigeria, calling the both countries out that way is not the right way. And it could be seen as political diplomacy, quite all right, because he can't do this with other countries. I'm talking about big countries like the Russias, the North Korea, which I earlier cited, and even China, irrespective of the fact that he gives them heavy tariffs. He still goes back to them and they have some discussions. Why don't he come to us? Or why don't, well, some people will say that Tinubu should have gone to meet the president, US President Donald Trump, or the South African president should have met with him. But I'm saying it is more of a political point of view than just him calling out the countries. He has issues with these countries, especially South Africa.
But it's going to Venezuela as well and other countries.
Yes, Venezuela, we know, is a South American country. We understand that he has issues with Venezuela.
So is it from a diplomatic standpoint too?
No, the issue of Maduro is that he wants to topple Maduro. He wants Maduro out of government. Maduro has been ruling that country for a very long time now.
Yes,
and he
true.
wants Maduro out of government.
True.
Yes. So not compare. He has been. Presently, we have the reports of CIA. We have that he's mapping out attacks on us, but he has literally deployed them to Venezuela. But we don't know if they are on ground yet. But there are reports that yes, he's sending them. Even the CIA chief in the US has already said he doesn't want to comment, but he has said one or two things that his goal for the US during his tenure is to make sure that the CIA can go anywhere and do anything, and which we know that is what Trump likes.
Kingsley, I'll just thank you so much, Cynthia. I'll just like your closing thoughts on this because time is no longer on our side. How do you think African nations should balance their need for international support and investments, especially with the imperative to maintain sovereignty? I mean, we just spoke about South Africa and Nigeria, and sometimes we appear needly. We look like we are needy. We are people of charity. And if some people do not intervene, then we cannot have a life of our own. So how do we balance that out, please, quickly?
Having a life of our own cannot work out until we ensure that our insecurity is nipped at the bud, or nipped in the bud. And the only way to do that is by ensuring that our leaders, America, US, Trump said his own policy is America first. Yes, we have our own policy, Nigeria first, but let it not only be in the economic aspect. We want it to come from the security aspect. We need our borders tight. We need our security to be tight as well. These are the ways we can move forward as a sovereign country and the way other countries can respect us when we claim that we are sovereign.
Thank you so much, Kingsley Gar, for honoring our invitation. It was so good to have you on Idea Morning Digest. We will be in touch. Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Kingsley.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we call it a wrap on this edition of Idea Morning Digest. We've heard from Kingsley Gar, an African Liberty Fellow who shared his thoughts on the intervention of Donald Trump in the Nigerian situation. Well, we'll be having more of this kind of conversations, and so we'd like you to keep tabs, do well to follow us across the different social media platforms, engage, comment, and share your thoughts. My name is Chinatu Oji, and I've been with
Cynthia Basi.
And together we are saying bye for now. Up next will be Midday News at 12. Do not miss it for anything. Network is... That's why I just went ahead to ask. We always have